This time I'd like to call to order the 24 June 2024 Jackson County Commission meeting. I'd like to say thanks for everyone being here. We have a number of items to discuss and some important business for tonight. We have a number of items in our new business portion to include appointment to some critical boards. And then in our work session, we have several areas to include a discussion of contract options for courthouse and Liberty Lane contract. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Hemrick, our county administrator, please call the roll to establish a quorum.
Mr. Goley, Mr. Kennemer,
Present.
Mr. Buckner,
Present.
Mr. McBride.
We do have a quorum, so at this time, I'd like to ask everyone to please stand. And I'd like to ask Mr. Porter, our county administrator, our county attorney, to please offer invocation, and Commissioner Kennemer to lead our pledge.
Let's pray. God, our Father in heaven, we are truly blessed to live in this wonderful county and this wonderful country. We ask at this time, God, a special prayer for our country. We are coming upon a celebration that we celebrate every year on the 4th of July. We celebrate our freedoms. God, help us to remember and to know that our freedoms are not free, that they come at a cost. They come at sometimes a cost of lives of our men and women in the armed services and those that are in law enforcement. So God, we just pray that we will continue to be free. We will never take our freedoms for granted. We'll always support those that are supporting us. So watch over us, God. Guide us and direct us and help us have a safe 4th of July. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In your packets is the agenda for our June 24th meeting. Give you a chance to take a look at the agenda. At this time, do I have a motion to approve the 24 June 2024 Jackson County Commission meeting?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, have a second? Have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. I don't think we have any awards or presentations tonight, and no public comment tonight. We have moved our Liberty Learning, since we do this annually, in support of our Liberty Learning program. We have moved that to our work session for discussion. So with that, we will move into the new business portion of our agenda. First is in your packet is the minutes from the May 28th new business and work session meeting for our Jackson County Commission. Do I have a motion to adopt the minutes from the May 28th, 2024 meeting and work session?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any questions, discussion? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Last meeting we had a discussion about July the 5th as an additional holiday day for our county employees. Checking with our neighboring counties and with the city of Scottsboro, all have approved July the 5th as a holiday for their employees, and we do this as an annually we approve the day before, day after the 4th of July as an additional holiday. So do I have a motion to approve July the 5th, 2024 as additional holiday?
Make that motion.
We have a motion, have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask Revenue Commissioner Jeff Arnold if he would come forward, please. Annually, we approve the litigation insolvents for the year. This year, we're approving for 2023, so I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Arnold.
So it's just, I don't wanna say it's formality, but it basically is every year. Anything that I don't collect, and the only thing I wouldn't collect would be personal property that we didn't have an auction to sell because the business was closed, out of business, whatever it be, could be in bankruptcy. There is a lot of folks that are in bankruptcy, so we can't collect. Anything that's in litigations, I don't collect, so we're getting ready to do our final settlement. This is the litigation and insolvency list that you guys always approve. I will say that, after some discussion with the chairman and the county attorney, after our tax lien sale this year, we have the option of selling selling the property at tax lien sale. If something doesn't sell, the law gives me the option to have a private sale later, put it back on the auction block because we do it online and let it auction for several days. But we chose to just we're holding it in inventory right now, so we'll hold it until next year or until we decide to we can have a private sale. A lot of it will be, just to give you an example, there may be some pieces, it's like a ditch or something that nobody wants to buy. So we'll just kind of sit on that until the 2 or 3 years are up. We'll sell it at that time. If it's in an entity like Stevenson or Bridgeport, somewhere like that, we'll probably contact them and see if they're interested in buying it. Like I said, a lot of it's just little right-of-ways and stuff like that. But the reason I wanted to mention that because it's the first year we've done this, so if you look at last year's, I don't know if you got last year's or not, it's significantly higher. It's not high, but it's significantly higher than it was the previous year because of those tax lien sales.
Okay, let me ask her any questions. If not, do we have a motion to approve the litigation insolvents in the year of 2023 for the Revenue Commission Office?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, there's a place on there for you to sign. You don't need to sign it, just, if you get it to me tomorrow, it'll be fine, that's fine.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Next, in the packet, we do have 2 boards that this evening we need to appoint membership to. One is our E911 board and the other is our Economic Development Authority board. Very important boards for our county. We'll say we have some great applicants for each of the boards. The first is the E911 board. We have 2 positions to fill expiring terms. And we do have 3 applicants for those 2 positions. In your packet, you do have the letters of request of these 3 applicants for consideration. First is Mr. Brandon Phillips, and in his letter he gives notice of his interest in the open seat of the Jackson County E911 board. He provides his work experience that is related to E911. His current job is as an investigator with the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, and prior he was a patrol deputy for the Jackson County Sheriff's Office and a patrol officer for the Hollywood Police Department. Was served in the United States Army from 2010 to 2015. Also in your packet, Mr. Donald Greg Godfrey is with the Scottsboro Police Department. He is the current vice chair of the board, and in his letter he has stated his interest to be reappointed for another 4-year term on the board. And if you look at his application form, he has been on the 911 board for 8 years. Also in your packet you have a request from Mr. Michael Swain. He is also a current member of the board, and he is seeking reappointment to the board for his expiring term. And lifelong resident of Crow Mountain community, PTO president of Skyline School, and a safety committee member, and he does express his interest in having another term. Given that we have two positions, let me open the floor for nominations of the first position. That would be the expiring term of Mr. Greg Godfrey.
I want to nominate Mr. Donald G. Godfrey to go back into his spot.
Okay, we have a nomination of Mr. Godfrey. At this point, we'll take a roll call vote. And I'd like to ask our county administrator to call the roll, please.
Mr. Goley,
Yes.
Mr. Kenworth,
Yes.
Mr. Buckner,
Yes.
So unanimous, and so Mr. Godfrey has been reappointed for another term to our E911 board. Next, let me open up for nominations for the expiring term of Mr. Mike Swain.
I have that nomination. I'd like to,
Nomination, please.
Mike Swain.
We have a nomination for Mr. Swain, so we will do another roll call vote. Nomination of Mr. Mike Swain.
Mr. Goley,
Yes.
Mr. Kenworth,
Yes.
Mr. Buckner,
Yes.
So, roll call vote, unanimous. We have appointing Mr. Mike Swain for another 4-year term as a member of the 911 board. We will get notification letters out to these members that have been selected tomorrow, notifying them of their reappointment to the board. Next, we have a board position open on the Economic Development Authority Board for Jackson County. We have 5 applicants. They have their letters of request for consideration is in your packet. First letter is from Mr. Jack Lovelady. He is requesting consideration to be appointed to the EDA board. Grew up in Stevenson, graduated from University of Alabama with a Bachelor of Science degree in finance. Started his work career with the First National Bank of Birmingham and South later, and then accepted a job with the First National Bank of Stevenson. He became president of the First Southern State Bank of Stevenson in 2016 and retired at January 2024, but he remains on the board of directors. Next applicant is Mr. Jeff Arnold. Is requesting his consideration for appointment to the EDA board. He was previously employed by the Jackson County Commission for 2 years as a real property appraiser, then for 12 years as the Jackson County Deputy Revenue Commissioner. He is currently serving for the past 9 years, held the elected position of the Jackson County Revenue Commissioner, and he's been directly related to in the revenue collecting process, collecting of and the distribution of taxes, and applies the abatements and collects non-abated taxes. Another applicant is Mr. Derek W. Rick Wheeler. Mr. Wheeler has also submitted his letter of interest for the open position on the board. A seasoned finance director, a county manager, and administrator for municipal government and multiple divisions in the manufacturing industry. He was the City of Scottsboro Budget and Finance Director from 1997 to 2024. He served a short term as a staff accountant for ITC Delta Com. For 17 years, he was the Director of Finance for Dover Mills Incorporated. And for a year prior to that, he worked as an accountant and auditor for Gant, Croft and Associates. Also, we have an application from Mr. Anthony Jason Davison. His letter and resume is in your packet. Mr. Davison is requesting consideration to fill the board. He has received a Bachelor of Science degree in Economics and Information Management and E-Commerce from Jacksonville State University, has a master's in secondary education and social sciences from Jacksonville State, and has completed a master's degree in instructional leadership from Jacksonville State University. He is the superintendent of the Jackson County School District and was supervisor prior to that of the career tech education for Jackson County Schools. He has served as a principal of Skyline School as well as the assistant principal of Skyline School. He has served as an education panelist for the North Alabama Industrial Development Association Conference. He is on the board of the Mountain Lakes Chamber of Commerce and the Impact Learning Center Board, and he was recently appointed by Governor Ivey to serve on the Retirement Systems of Alabama Board of Control. Our fifth request for consideration is from Mr. Lanny Lewis. He is interested in being considered for this position. He is a lifelong resident of Jackson County, and he has served as he is a retired UPS driver, having been all over North Alabama, serving industries throughout Jackson County, and he and his family have a 5-house poultry farm and cattle and hay operation. So we have 5 very qualified applicants for the position of our Economic Development Board. With that, let me open up requests for nomination.
I'd like to make a motion for Jack Lovelady.
We have a nomination for Mr. Jack Lovelady. With that, we'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Goley,
Yes.
Mr. Kennemer,
Yes.
Mr. Buckner,
Yes.
So unanimous, and so with that, Mr. Jack Lovelady will be appointed to a term on our Economic Development Board. We want to say thank you for everybody that submitted their applications for these boards. Tremendous applicants in both the 911 and the EDA board, and just thank you for their willingness and interest to serve the citizens of Jackson County. With that, that concludes our new business portion of the meeting. We'll now move into the work session. We have a number of items to discuss in a number of different areas. First area is under the commission. As you know, we have been in the process of doing engineering analysis and design development for renovation of our Liberty Lane facility, as well as design for structural repairs of the Jackson County Courthouse. So let me turn it over to Mr. Kevin Bond from JMR Plus H. He's been the project lead for this. Tonight we're going to discuss proposal that we have had from P&C
Yes, sir.
and the status of that proposal.
Per our bid tabulation that we received on bid day for the project for the 2 bid items.
Hold on just a moment. I think we have some paperwork to hand out to our commissioners so that you have some information to follow. So, Mr. Hammond.
Thank
Okay.
For our bid opening held, public bid opening, when the bids were received, we had two bona fide bidders that bid the projects, and that is, it was one project that consisted of bid item A, which was the structural repairs and renovations here at the courthouse. Bid item B was for the renovations of the Liberty Lane building. And so the total of those 2 bids, base bid and all alternates of the apparent low bidder, which is P&C Construction out of Chattanooga, was $5,924,860. We met with the commission and presented the bid results, and per discussions we had, I was tasked to go back to the apparent low bidder and see if we could have us attempt at value engineering and negotiation with that low bidder. We did have that discussion with the low bidder, P&C Construction, and they came back with a list of VE items and potential for savings. So if we choose to accept them, I reviewed all of their suggestions, and they are all viable, cost-saving, efficiency items. They are not, as we are not to alter the specifications and the materials and the quality and the workmanship of the project. These are simply efficiency items that they presented back in areas to say. And so I'll go down briefly, starting with P&C themselves, the general contractor. They have offered a deduction if all the courthouse restroom alternates are accepted, they will deduct $50,000. And that's.
Say that again. If
If
all are
if
accepted?
all of the restroom alternates are accepted, they will deduct $50,000. I had them working on a pro rata of that, so we can fine tune that if we choose not to accept them all, but that is the information that I have as I stand here this evening. But $50,000 if all the restroom alternates are accepted for the courthouse.
And they're saying all of them have to be taken.
For the full $50,000, and then
Okay.
there'll be a little bit of a pro rata split if there's some that aren't taken, because what they did is looked at combining their sanitary sewer work into one group of employees coming in and performing that work quicker and minimizing the scope impact of having to do demolition, leave, come back, do demolition, that they can do groups of restrooms because of the way they're split up. They'll be able to maximize the flow of labor on the project. We also received from commercial, they also received and presented from commercial flooring systems a deduct respectively for bid item A of $4,370 and bid item B of $18,490. And that's in flooring cost, and that is simply using a more efficient flooring product than what they initially proposed. And we do have basis of design and approved equivalents, and they picked one of the approved equivalents and were able to achieve a cost savings. So that's a pretty good shot from commercial flooring systems. Then we had K&K Plumbing come back, and overall, set aside from the P&C number on the restrooms, they offered a BE amount of $7,615 reduction based on efficiency of plumbing work, that they saw an opportunity where they could be more efficient and reduce their labor by $7,615. Southern Heating and Cooling came back, and this was, as we always see on these bids, HVAC and electrical are the prime offenders when it comes to putting extra money in a project and contingency and planning worst case scenarios. So when they came back, Southern Heating and Cooling came back with a $40,268 deduct, and then Admin Electric came back with a $53,073 deduct. So that brings us to a grand total of a reduction in bid day cost of $173,816. So if you take that off of, if you were to award base bid, all alternates, including the alternates at Liberty Lane, I'm gonna give you kind of two scenarios here. That would put your project total at $5,751,044. $5,751,044. Now, per our discussions, we had talked about Liberty Lane, about not performing that the alternates at Liberty Lane were not vital to the facility being operational and fully renovated, other than the lighting option. So if you take the $5,924,860, apply the $173,816 VE to that, and then back out all three of those alternates, that puts you at $5,573,044.
Say that again.
$5,573,044.
Okay.
Now, at the commission's discretion, we can either have them break it down more finite between the alternates for the courthouse, so we can see what that $50,000, what the pro rata share would be if, for example, we dropped off the jury restrooms and just did the public restrooms. So there's an option there, but we would lose a little bit of that savings.
So let me offer for the commissioners on the sheet that was provided to you. You notice at the top our status of ARPA funds, and this project is to be funded with ARPA funds. But you see there total funds for the project, and that was what we had estimated. That's what we have available in ARPA funds, plus the funding that has been approved through the help of our delegation, county delegation, that we have a total available set of funds of $5,667,898 to, given consideration of this. My recommendation is we're not ready today to make a decision on this, given where they are. And I would prefer to see that we get a look at each one of the alternatives to the base bid. Because I think we would want to be in a position, the idea of putting the alternatives in this contract package was to give us an option to make a selection of alternatives to do things. And we selected in the courthouse the bathrooms that we have in the courthouse. Those included the public bathrooms, the 4 public bathrooms on the first, the 2 on the first floor and the 2 on the second floor. Now remember that 2 bathrooms are already in the base bid.
That is
That
correct.
is the external basement, and the, I think it's the men's bathroom in the
The men's
basement
room,
that
yeah.
is a part of the base bid that we
Right.
have. And then there was another bathroom on the basement floor.
Basement floor, right.
And then we had put in jury rooms, so that was to give us a chance to make a selection
Correct.
of those. Right now, the way this is presented to us, we don't have a selection option at all.
That's right. And
It's all-
I'm giving you
it's
the best
all-
information as I've
I
received it.
understand, Kevin.
And I've already had that conversation with them, tasked them as soon as I received this on Friday afternoon,
Yeah.
to go back today and be working on that, and I was hoping to have something in transit today, but haven't heard back from them, but I will come back and present it to you in an a la carte format where you can see base bid.
So the funding is clearly available to do what we started off to do here, is to renovate the Liberty Lane building and also take care of the structural integrity and those issues that the courthouse has as a result of the structural issues that we have. But I've just given you my thoughts, that I would like to see a little more granularity, so we had a little more range of option here than what we got. But that's just my view. So let me open up for questions and comments here.
Yeah, I'd like to see more à la carte options. Hold us over to the next meeting.
And what I will do for you all is arrange those on a spreadsheet, on an order of magnitude matrix sheet.
Yeah.
That'll have, and that way you can see all the numbers, and as soon as I have all the blanks filled in from the GC, then I'll be able to produce that and send it to you and come back.
Yeah, I think if you can, I agree, if you can take that and sort of range it so we see what the courthouse base is, the Liberty Lane base is, and then each option you bid is. And that'll, sort of becomes a menu for our consideration for selection. So I'm sorry. Any other questions?
No, it's good, thank you.
Paul, go over there. So we will delay this until the 10th of July and
I will be back
get a little
on
more
the 10th.
granularity on this to make a decision.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
But we're wanting to, I believe I speak for the commission, we're wanting to get on with this and get this obligated under contract and get started.
And I will say this, there are 2 other items that are not included in these numbers that I sent them upon reviewing and pouring through all of our documents and we received comments back from every one of these subs, or I did, and it said, this is tough because it was so efficiently designed. We cannot say that about many other projects, but it was tough to get what we got out of it, which is a good thing, but it still presented us a challenge with getting to where we are at 173,816. But I feel like there's 2 more items that I have out there that could have a little bit more impact.
Okay. So really appreciate the update. So let's defer and we'll do a little more to structure this in a way that we can make some choices.
Will do. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate all the time you guys have put into this. That happened. Next up is a cybersecurity grant. Asked Miss Misty Perkins if she would come forward. In your packet, as you will see, And really, this is a notice of our interest to apply for the grant with the State of Alabama Cybersecurity Plan. So, Ms. Perkins.
All right, we received this notice from ACCA about the cybersecurity grant program. So we have just essentially put our name into the pool of applicants. And this local agreement is just saying that, yes, we are submitting our interest in this, but it isn't giving us any money yet. We haven't applied for any projects. It does list how much money is offered for this year, and do note that it is for the fiscal year 2022, not 2024, because they were granted money for 4 years, so it's going back to 2022. They are going to be giving out about 80% of the allocation is going to be used for either cybersecurity risk assessments and service selection, deploy foundational cybersecurity capability and resilient service options, or offer state-supported cybersecurity training and workforce development. We have no information on this yet. It's just saying that we will put our name into the applicant pool and we'll see what happens.
I think the interest here is given everybody's concerned with cybersecurity in all of our organizations. If we can get some grant money, it seems to me it's worth us applying for it. So at least letting them know we're interested. But this does not commit us to anything.
No.
It would come back as whether we are received, approved as an applicant, then we'd have an option at that time to make a decision whether to
Correct.
proceed.
The first thing, it says I consent and understand to the following, and it says, pass through cybersecurity projects, goods, or services, or direct grant funding is provided from the SAA at my request, and my decision to accept or decline comes without duress or fear of reprisal. So, yeah, we can accept or decline.
So I don't think, given we're applying, this requires a vote, because we're not committing to anything. This is just information for the commission,
Correct.
and if we are willing to submit for application. Okay? Any questions, comments?
No, thank you. I know this is a lot of work to do stuff like this, and appreciate you looking for opportunities for us.
Thanks, Misty. Appreciate it. Next, we will move to Liberty Learning. Ms. Bobo, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you for letting me be here. Last couple of times, I think you've been seeing Angie Sparks. I am back in Jackson County. I started here in fund development with this county after Senator Livingston asked me to bring the program here. And then we had a little bit of disbursement with our fund development locations. So now I'm back. Some of the sponsors that she had found in the community may not be mine. So this is kind of new for me to get back into the community, but I'm very excited. As a little overview, I know you know who we are. Liberty Learning Foundation is a nonprofit. We're based out of Huntsville, but we're doing a civics character education program throughout the state of Alabama. We're in 48 counties this year. So we are growing, expanding, trying to get every one of these kids from second grade all the way up to high school to understand what it means to be a good citizen, to belong to their communities. We have a great program that every school wants. We're very fortunate that Jackson County is here accepting our program for the second graders. And just in the last couple of years, we've implemented the 7th grade program. So to give you an idea of what it's like, if you've never been to one of our events, the second graders get to see Libby. She's up on stage. She's our Statue of Liberty. She tells the kids who she is, what she stands for, what she means, talking about liberty and our freedoms. It's really a pep rally at this event to get them excited about the lessons they're going to learn. They go behind the scenes with their classrooms. Their teachers give them the lessons that we provide them the materials and resources for, about 10 to 12 weeks. They learn all about being a good person, a good character, citizenship, what it means to belong to that community. We actually get them to honor someone in the community that has been a positive role. and they bring them up on stage at our celebration event and actually give them a gift of a Statue of Liberty replica. It's pretty exciting, it's very emotional, it's something that we feel like they could take with them year on end. So the reason we do that is because we start in the second grade and we build up. We want them to hear it, it's repeat, and get it in their head that this is what they need to learn and carry with them. So you guys do that second grade, and then we bring it back to your seventh graders. Seventh grade is very important because the character there, we want them to continue to be the good person that we know they need to be a good worker and be in your workforce one day. So in not only learning their character, we are actually getting them to dive into service learning projects. We want them to find something that is in the community that is a need, find a solution for that. And then as they graduate after their program, after about 10 to 12 weeks, we come back with a celebration, and they have to tell us as an adult what they picked, why they picked it, and how they have conquered that solution. So I gave you a little handout, two of them actually. Jackson County, we are doing the program for 840 students. Total cost is $30,240. That's estimated, of course. You'll have some that's give or take in the classrooms. On the second handout, if you'll look at the breakdown of classrooms, I've individualized it out by which school. If it's a second grade program and seventh grade program, as you can see, we have 550 students doing the second grade. And as of last year, we only had 4 seventh grade schools. Now we actually have 4 more. We're kind of doing that in little clusters so that with funding, we can get them all taken care of by next year, hopefully. So we have 290 seventh grade students. And the total cost of that $30,240 breaks down to a $900 classroom cost. So it's my job to be in the community to find as many local sponsors as I can. And last year, you guys had helped us, I believe, with $2,000, $2,500. If you could do that same level, would be great. But I would also love for you to consider maybe another classroom, which would be $900. If not, of course, 2 would be great. Any need that we can get to kind of help with that expansion is an overall additional $6,600 for this new year for the seventh grade program to come in here. So each year we're going to be building, adding more students and adding more cost. So if we can get any extras, that would be great. And then on the third handout, I have actually gone ahead and given you the upcoming events. This does have Scottsboro City on there as well, just because I handed out to other sponsors. But if you'll look, the kickoffs are coming up pretty soon, August 21st. We will do the kickoff for the little guys. We are at the Duke Center. It's at 9 a.m. And then we will wait until January for the seventh grade. We would love for you to come to any of these. It's about a 45-minute to an hour presentation, and you can see exactly firsthand what we're doing. And then the celebrations, we've got those booked for November and May. And we would love for you to come and just volunteer a little bit and see what it's about. And help those seventh graders especially, because they have to have somebody in the community listening to their project. And it kind of gives them a little bit of soft skills of what it's going to look like for interviews. So I thank you for letting me be here, and any level that you can help us with would be great.
Okay, let me open for comments and discussion.
First off, it's my favorite program, by far. So.
I'm glad that a lot of you are in education.
Oh, it's the best. And I want to encourage everybody in the audience and anybody listening, when y'all have your presentation, especially your celebration at the end, it should be required, because it's true patriotism and an excellent lesson. So thank you for what you do.
Any other comments? Good. So we'll put this on the new business agenda for next meeting. Now, I think your request is last year's commitment plus 8 classroom. So that'll be that plus $900 with that. Is that okay with everyone, or okay?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. So really appreciate it, and thanks for what you guys do. I had the opportunity to attend the presentations at the Kevin Duke Center, and some of the projects these young people took on were truly amazing, and what they were able to do. And they were all focused on helping, at least the ones I had the chance to sit in, and helping their teachers, administrators, and people who work in the schools, and very nicely done. So thank you. So next we will move to our park. We have several items there. Last meeting we first let me ask Director Priya, had proposed, we had, I guess, some damage to a fence at the park around our pavilion, and so let me turn it over to Director Priya.
Secretary, Commissioners. Yes, so at last meeting, after we left, went and received a quote for both a galvanized and a black coated residential and commercial fence. Since that, we hosted an event for the Sheriff's Department at the park, and through the use of trustees, they were able to get our current fence back into a usable condition. It's still an old fence, it still shows the age, but at this time, it would be my recommendation that we maybe hold off on this project until a little bit better funding is available. Right now, it would be purely a beautification project and not one that's actually keeping anyone out. We have that obligation met right now with our current old fence that's been repaired.
Okay. Any questions?
When we were over there the other day at the sheriff's gathering, I noticed some of the top rails that hold the fence together are loose. Has that been fixed?
Not all of it.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, it's fixable.
The damage that I was referring to was the front section of the fence right there in front of the parking lot had been basically just flattened and put on the ground. Now that has been restrung up and is in pretty good shape.
Yeah, it looked pretty good over there.
Yeah. So I, at this time, I don't think we move forward on this project, being that we have many others that are more of a priority for the park.
Let me ask the question of, do we need a security fence around the pavilion versus means of blocking the kitchen portion of the pavilion?
We could do without the fence. The only thing is that when we schedule events to be held there, we have no way of keeping anyone off of the picnic area to ensure that it's ready for customers that have paid for the use of it.
Okay. Okay.
What's the rental on that? I mean, not the amount, but how often do y'all rent that area?
During the summer months, it rents up typically Saturday and Sundays.
Okay.
Occasionally we'll get weekday rentals, but not as often as the weekend. Both June and July have been booked up full weekends for probably about 3 months now. So it stays booked.
So, obviously, tell me to hush, but, if that were left open and could be used for people to have lunch and, because it is such a beautiful spot, if it's only been rented 2 days a week, then that's 5 that could be used. Or would that create too much trash and damage and?
We kind of fall into a line of having available bodies to make sure that it's clean and prepped for that weekend use. Because now currently, on Monday, we go in, take out trash, make sure everything's clean and ready for the next use. So it would just put an extra burden on the employees there. We do have other pavilions that people are able to use though.
Okay. Next item is surplus of mowers.
Yeah, so, recently we replaced, one of our John Deere mowers, and previously we had replaced one, it was a Hustler brand mower. We're just asking permission to move those to surplus and take them to auction. And I will admit the mistake, I had went ahead and placed them on an auction site. It hasn't sold, matter of fact, I don't believe either one have received any bids, they've only been on for a few days. But if you would consider setting aside the rules tonight and voting to surplus these items so that we can move forward with the sale when the end of the auction here in a little over a week does come, we can move forward with that sale and not delay.
I like that because, I mean, it is mowing season, so
Yes, sir.
I think.
And that was one of the reasons we didn't move forward with surplus and the Hustler when we got a replacement for it, was winter, and we didn't feel we would bring as much at auction for surplus at that time.
I'll make a motion to set aside the rules.
Okay, have a motion, so
I'll second it.
Have a second. We have a second. Do I have a motion to surplus 2 riding mowers in Jackson County Park?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Sure, second.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you, appreciate it. Last is staffing levels and organization for the park. We had a discussion last time, and I asked Director Priya to bring in a request and information for a summer hire to assist the park with the work they have. There are two handout sheets in your packet. One is the current organization for the park, which includes 6 full-time and 1 part-time employee, and the part-time employee is there Saturdays really to take care of the gas sales, principally at the park. I'm pushing a recommendation that we really need to look at how we're organized at Jackson County Park, because right now we're not organized well to do the scope of work that we have for the park. The second sheet is a proposed look at organizing. And the reason I wanted your attention there, if you look at the responsibilities of our park staff, our 6 people full-time that work park staff, they are managing, taking care of, mowing, repairing, the properties you see listed there. That is the Jackson County Park, the North Sand Mountain Park, the Paint Rock Valley Park, the High Top Park, which is mowed right now. There's nothing there, it's a piece of property, but we do mow it twice a year. And then the boat ramps that that are state boat ramps, but we do have responsibility and an arrangement we have with the state to mow and keep clean these parks. In some cases, we're responsible for lighting, I believe, as well. But those include the B.B. Comer boat ramp, the Langston boat ramp, the water treatment boat ramp, the Sportsman's Landing boat ramp, the Mud Creek boat ramp, and the Long Island Hogjaw boat ramp. And so this keeps our guys on the road, particularly this time of year, taking care of those, plus what we take care of at Jackson County Park. Jackson County Park is a 7-day-a-week job in terms of people coming in and out, checking in and out, and needs of people that are in the park. And plus, we have in the park the maintenance responsibility for the store, park store, as well as Casey's restaurant and other facilities that we have at the park. If you look at the current organization, the park maintenance staff is the mowing staff. And when they're not mowing, they're doing maintenance. And they're doing critical maintenance at the time, rather than getting ahead in maintenance operations. The other thing that you will see here, quite honestly, is if I were really to draw this, my way of drawing that, it is a completely vertical organization. And it goes up from the folks who are working to the park maintenance lead to the director. And so the director gets all the calls, whether it's middle of the day or whether it's 10 o'clock at night, and whether it's Saturday or Sunday or work day. So many times I know Director Perea has just sat down to dinner and gotten a call, turn around and go back to the park. And sometimes those are at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, or 11 or 12 o'clock at night. And so I believe for us to be more effective, we need to look at restructuring the park and having a real organizational structure that has management responsibility, so the burden is not always placed on the director, but also divides up into functional areas of responsibility. We need a dedicated maintenance crew. If you've been out to the park recently, you'll notice that we've got one dock that's partially completed because we don't have time to get what I'll call the fingers of the slips finished. And they have repaired one dock completely. Those are the kind of things that I'm responsible for. So we need a maintenance crew during the week. We need to also have people at some staffing at night to take care of maintenance calls. And we need certainly a dedicated grounds crew doing all the mowing that we do it through the year. So I've just thrown out for discussion purposes of my proposed organization. We have looked at this in terms of funding availability to be able to do this. This can be done within funds. This look here is 2 new full-time personnel and 3 part-time people. Part-time people, full-time people would be working Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day. The part-time people would be working Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to take care of understanding what's work needs to be continued through the weekend and to service the weekend. At weekends, for the most part, are some of our busiest times of the year. So again, it would be 2 new personnel and 3 new part-time personnel to do that. So this is something just to consider and think about. But I would propose that we're in the height of the season right now. If we need to do something to improve the staffing so that we can handle this, our responsibilities for the park. So let's throw it open for discussion. Any comments?
Yes, Mayor, I mean, it was, you said everything you said.
Some of these folks live on county park that
I
do
had
these
one-
jobs,
What's that?
that do these jobs, some of them live
No.
there? None of them live there.
They pay rent and they have no obligation after hours to fulfill any call.
Do you currently have anyone on call or at nights or on weekends or what? Just you. So what happens if there's a maintenance issue, say in a campground, KC's or anywhere, whatever?
If it's something I can tackle, I go in and make the repair. If it's not, I have to call outside contractors to come in and facilitate that. And a lot of times the calls, it's not necessarily having to go to the park. It may be they can't find their site, they can't get through the gate, they're locked out of the cabin, things like that, which we have things in place where we can do it over the phone, get them access to where they need to be. But the maintenance calls, or if a site has a double booking and we missed it before leaving work, and then the individuals that were supposed to check in, they're not met with anyone to show them where to go, to check them in. So imagine showing up to a hotel and nobody's at the desk, and you're just left to wonder like, well, I know they told me I was in room 103, but how do I get there?
And we don't participate in any RV share or host share or any of those things
We
where
don't.
people will work to get
Not
free camping or something.
Yeah, we currently don't have a camp host or anything like that either. So.
The list of boat ramps that are state-owned, what is our obligation?
Our obligation is to make sure that trash is bagged up and set to where it can be collected, and to mow, weed eat, and spray for weeds.
And we get something in return from that?
No,
We do not.
that's
There's
another
no
conversation we need to have.
Man, oh man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we're running up and down the roads, taking time of our county employees to go do that, gas, fuels, and,
Wear and tear on equipment, everything.
now, I don't know whether that's a statewide thing or not, is the way that that's organized, but that's where we are right
That's
now.
a good question to find out.
It's not, well, because I've been reached out to by the state level representative, asking if we would consider taking on 3 additional ramps in the area that other municipalities have not
Yeah, for
taken on.
fair compensation, we'd gladly.
But there's no. And
Is this under, the state parks commission or?
fishery.
Fisheries, okay.
Your thoughts on the proposed org chart?
I think it's more than needed,
Is it fair to the person that would be at the top?
absolutely.
I'll offer another thought. I think anything that we do, we need to have sort of an operating procedure or manual kind of thing for the people that are working, whether daytime or nighttime. If something happens, who do you call? Because many times, if you're gonna solve the problem, you're gonna have to call some contractor to come in, and so who do we have relationships with, and what's the phone number for after hours to get the help?
Yeah.
So it doesn't take the director to be there to make that call. The person that is there on duty could make that call.
Flow chart.
And that would be easy to put together. Currently, I have that information available because I rely on it. And even so much as who's our first call, if they're not available, alternates that we can utilize
I think it'd
for
be very
situations
helpful.
like
I
that.
mean, even something like flip the breaker to
Yes.
see what resets, I mean, just some kind of, just so someone like yourself is not having to be pulled down there for you. Okay.
I'm in favor of reorganizing and adding to make life easier. And yeah, I would think we should have some on-call person or after-hours people on duty. That's something that probably should have been taken care of long ago, and I appreciate this being brought up to our attention.
Okay. Well, let's take, if you don't mind, look at it a little more. If you've got any other suggestions, we'll put it on the new business agenda. I believe this is something that we can and should move quickly to execute, because there's gonna be a long summer of mowing. And the other thing I would say is, Director Perea, remembers, recommended and we implemented this new automated,
Online reservation platform.
and we are seeing an interestingly increasing number of bookings and reservations as a result of that. And we're getting free advertising for the park as a result of that. So, comment regarding that? What you
No,
see?
the onboarding has been a little painful, some learning curves, and we're still working through occasional issue from where we uploaded all of our previously on the books reservations into the new system, and a couple of double bookings have happened so far. But we've worked through that, and looking through the upcoming reservations, we feel pretty confident we've got those isolated and it shouldn't happen anymore.
Occupancy rate?
Occupancy rate, especially in the cabins, have been noted as increased, and just as I'm riding around the park and talking to our customers, talking to them like, hey, how did you make your reservation? Oh, we used the camp spot. Well, how did you like it? And they're like, super easy, we loved it. So, solid note, late last week stating that Camp Spot has their own website. If you don't know what's in the area, you can go to their website and say you're gonna be in Alabama, and they'll show you a list of Camp Spot campgrounds that you can book at. Those carry it's a different fee structure for, paying for that service, but we're seeing an increase in reservations that otherwise they wouldn't have even known we were here in Scottsboro. So they found us through Camp Spot's website, where we share our link through our Facebook page, through the Jackson County courthouse page. We've printed them on all of our advertisements and our literature that we hand out, our maps and things like that. Those carry a different fee structure that it seems it's working pretty good.
Okay.
But
All right. Thank you, and we will put this on the new business agenda next meeting.
Thank you for the good work you do.
thank you.
Next up, Sheriff's Office. We have a grant opportunity that has been recommended by Congressman Strong for us to consider, and I know Dylan is working, Dylan Smith is working that, so let me turn it over to Sheriff Harnan.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioners, first of all, I'd like to echo what Commissioner Butler said about Misty Perkins on the good job she does on searching for and finding grants for us. Not only for the commission, but also for other departments like the Sheriff's Office. I know she's found 2 or 3 this year for us, and we've certainly been lucky to get a couple of those. And it'll be the same on this one. Talking about all these boat ramps we have, y'all be surprised to know we got a lot of water in Jackson County. but unfortunately, the sheriff's office has 0 boats. Something I've thought was important to us for years. We fortunately have a terrific rescue squad and several volunteer agencies that certainly have boats, but we shouldn't be dependent on them. There may be times they can't show up, and we're constantly having things on the water such as rescues, recovery of bodies, accidents, things such as that we have to respond to. And we are solely just indebted to these agencies that are volunteer to have to get their boats out to handle these problems. So Misty has found us a grant through Congressman Strong's office, and it's for a patrol-type rescue boat. You can get very extravagant with these things, spend several $100,000, but we've found something that we think would be adequate and would be perfect for what we're looking for. And with the boat and with all the equipment, lighting, things such as that, it's right at $70,000. This grant is available to us at a 75-25 match, I believe, or 80-20.
I think it's 75-25.
75-25 match. And we have worked with Misty, and I say we've worked, you've done all the work. I just applied a few things for her. And she's done a great job getting this together, and we just would like for your permission to go forward with attempting to get this grant. I think the park has already, we talked to the chairman and the park manager, and if we can get this boat, we could probably have a slip at the county park where it'd be readily available. All of you remember the dock fires. We certainly were lucky to have some boats there fairly quickly, but we had nothing to respond with. This would give us that option also for things such as that, and we pray that never happens again. But should it happen again, we'll have a boat to be able to respond.
And I think this helps us satisfy a recommendation for our dock of having, Stephen, I think what's the recommendation on the boat?
That a rescue vessel or recovery vessel be available for any type marina operation.
And I have currently talked with game and fish people. They have people available that teach classes to law enforcement on marine boat handling, and they would be willing to help us out with that. Currently, we have Marine Patrol. The closest one is in Guntersville. We don't have one here for whatever reason. I guess it's just lack of manpower, but it can take them 2 hours to get here. Our game and fish, if they're working, we can get them here fairly quickly, but there's only 2 of them working at any time. So it's really something we think is vital for the citizens of Jackson County to have this equipment on hand.
Do you know how much we're talking about for insurance for something like this?
Have not looked at that as far as insurance, have not looked at that whatsoever.
Sounds like it'd be high.
Oh,
Is it not?
be normal.
That's good. It's needed.
Okay, no questions. Misty, do you have anything you want to add?
This started in a
Thanks for giving me.
conversation that Congressman Strong's staff had with the sheriff, and once they heard this comment by the sheriff, they started looking for the grant, working with Misty, and so thanks to everybody. Okay.
So we will be out 25%, Mr. Chairman?
I'm sorry?
25% for us,
Yes.
17.5, basically.
I think that's right. And I think,
It's in the handout,
Yeah,
it's
it's on
about
Mm-hmm.
$17,000.
Okay, so we will proceed to, I don't think we need, until we get the grant and have to agree to pay, I
We've
think.
applied, so.
Yeah, okay. This is
I was
just
gonna say, I know
that.
we've applied, I don't know if it's something you needed to talk about.
Yeah. Okay, next, solid waste, and this says post-retirement contract. This is not really what this is. Solid waste is staffed in such a way if we have some sicknesses or illnesses or injuries or people on vacation, that kind of stuff, it's very easy to quickly get, it's very short on staffing for our drivers. The thought here is just, and again, this is to put out for discussion. Could we structure a program where we could have Folks who have retired, who have CDLs, may come from our solid waste department retirees or some other organization's retirees, and have a contract with them, so if we get short of people, that we could offer them an opportunity to come in and serve as drivers for a short period of time to take up the slack so that we can meet our demands for our garbage service around the county. And this would be available to the director of solid waste to plan. So if he sees that he's gonna have a period where he has a shortage of personnel, he could make plans to bring people in to help. So just a thought, it's just a contract, there's no pay commitment to that until we'd establish the contract, but the pay would be once we utilize their services. This, and John, let me ask you, this would be a contract not for continuous service, but as needed service, that we would call them in to supplement our staff. So I was just putting that out as a thought to help us supplement staff. Whether we can find folks to do that or not, but it's an option.
I'm good with that.
So go investigate that, if we could investigate that, even if it's from other agencies that may be able to do that. Okay? Any issues with that, John? Okay, any comment, Kevin?
Just wanna let y'all know we're 3 short right now.
Yeah.
We have no applicants. That's not counting the guys that take a vacation, that's not the guys that get injured. That's just, we're 3 short. So if y'all are getting phone calls, garbage ain't getting picked up, it's because garbage ain't getting picked up.
So we'll keep looking for ways to be able to try and help that. Okay. That's our last item in our work session, so let's reports from the staff. County Administrator, any comments?
We just met with, First Southern today and had very good discussions on, additional, banking that we can, use to increase security and, help, reduce any fraud that could take place. And heard good news on maybe increasing interest rates. So it was a good meeting we had.
Yeah, I want to say thanks. I know you guys have brought this up previously. And you County Administrator have jumped on this and contacted, we had a very good session today with First Southern, so appreciate the work. County Engineer?
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. I thought I would opt for photos instead of words on a quick update on projects. Colby has a few slides that I'll run through right quick. This is County Road 145 Bridge Rehab. That's before we started. It looks pretty good from the top side, but as we progress through the photos, next slide, Colby, you'll see that the issues are underneath. So superstructure on this project is in good condition, or fairly good condition, especially considering its age. It's piling and back walls of the retaining structure that cause the issues. So the degradation of piles from the inspection leads to lower scores, and the lower scores of the components of the structure lead to load reduction. So as you probably recall, before seeking this grant, we were in a 3-ton limit restriction. That obviously adversely affects commerce. It affects essentially everything except small passenger cars, even to the point of school buses, farmers, log trucks, etc. Next slide, please. The old structure in that last photo, if you notice 3 timber pile in front of the old pile, that was apparently the old structure, and that's just another shot there. You can see how close the timber pile are to the new piling. I say new piling that was put in. That's a structure that was constructed in 1971. You can just get an idea of the degradation of the piling in the splash zone and that, and that's not the worst. So next slide, please. Just another photo of what got us to this point. Next slide. And another shot. Next slide. So with the super being good and the way this is constructed, the superstructure must come off to do the needed rehabilitation work. I did mention this is being funded mostly from ALDOT, and we're most appreciative of that opportunity. You can see the guys working hard here to carefully dismantle the superstructure, and it'll be placed in a prepared area where it's supported just like it was sitting on the bridge. Next slide, please. And that continues in the background. You can see the components of the superstructure and start seeing more of the substructure where the work is to be done. Next slide. Everything's removed, back wall's demoed, and the southern vent is isolated at this point. So this is a higher flow type scenario, not extreme high, but higher flow, where you can see that through the duration of the project, dewatering is, will be necessary. Next slide. And that's a shot of the vent being prepared. So the crews, they must get below, at least 2 feet below the splash zone of deterioration to get to solid piling on either side and prepare all the piling for encasement. Next slide. You can see in the foreground, that vent has been poured, and then the additional wing wall has been poured. And then the guys are preparing for a pour on the northern section with the wing wall pours to follow. Next slide. Just another shot of the same, and this is, this wing is encased along with the abutment piling that will be poured, and it will essentially match what's in the southern section. It's being performed incrementally due to the overhead obstruction. You'll notice there are power lines there. So with the superstructure necessary to be set by crane, those obstructions prevent it from all being constructed at one point. The super will have to be set back in place before the final wing construction can take place. They're careful here to construct the stream bed where we have clean water in, clean water out, keep the vents and the work isolated, and then limited to high flow situations where there's actually water in the work zone except for dewatering. Next slide. Just another photo looking downstream. You can see the stream management process and the work that was performed on the southern abutment, and then the work taking place on the northern. And that's pretty close to present day. That has since been poured in the formwork wreck, but you can essentially get a grasp for what's left to do. Next slide, please. Switching gears now, County Road 38 slope failure repair. I left out the slope failure photos. I think you guys are all probably familiar with that, and went straight into this took place late spring, I guess you would say, for timeline on our clearing limits. And just as a reminder, the stabilization components will take place within right-of-way. However, the easements were required for clearing limits and construction limits to be able to perform the work and maneuver equipment in the areas of where the slope failure repair will be needed. This is the upper repair section that you see, and in the very background to the right, you can see just a little of the lower section to be repaired. This is obviously after clearing and grubbing. Next slide, please. The lower section, the upper is 175, the lower is 375, and this is really in the phase where we're mostly complete with clearing and grubbing, and we're getting down to just vegetation removal, stump removal, etc. Next slide, please. Just another photo of that. Next slide. So step one is it's all top down as we progress with the failure repair. So the first order of business is essentially a bench that stabilization work can take place. So this is county obligation, clearing, grubbing, excavation, support efforts for the stabilization work. So county crews have constructed this bench, and we're essentially ready for the stabilization. You'll notice the irregularity because we are in the section of the failed, the upper failure. We are in the section of the failed roadway, and the irregularities will have to be constructed particular so that the profile is rebuilt in a way that it won't settle and will also be stable with the rest of it. Next slide, please. That's the stabilization work taking place on that first cut, working top down, and this proceeds shortly after the excavation is done. It's obviously unstable material, unstable slope, period. So once we make that cut, then they're right behind us, stabilizing. Next slide. This is just an interesting shot of before the excavation. So that's the scarp, and you can see how it's weathered from the time the failure occurred in 2019 to present day. And that, if if you start at all the way down and work up, that part you see on the left side is just material that's left off. But you'll notice that whole first band is bituminous. So that was a road, many roads, actually, because you don't pave roads that big. So that was a failure, and then a road, a failure, and then a road, a failure, and then a road. And then a big failure, because that's church material, and then another road on top, multiple roads, so probably multiple failures. So if we think back before when we were looking at possibilities of solution for this, that movement that's occurred over all the years, it's translated up into the road, and these failures have occurred year after year after year, or big ones, some periodic through time. Next slide, please. You can see a little further along on that upper slide, so that's kind of just a shot in there just for understanding purposes of how this goes. So you can see the nails and the stabilization, then the mesh, and in areas where there are voids, there's formwork required, and then the shotcrete to make what will in the end be a fairly uniform face that just essentially hides all the stabilization elements. And it'll work top down. Next slide, please. And that's just an action shot of the same thing. So that's that first cut as it's in its final stages of stabilization. And then once that's complete, they will progress down to the lower section, and we'll make another excavation so that it works top down and stabilized the deeper we go and progresses accordingly. Next slide, please. And that's the second stage of excavation. You can see the shotcrete's complete, the wall stabilized at least for the first cut, and then we're working on the next. That's county obligation in excavation and removal so that the wall can progress to its design depth. Next slide. And even deeper than the other two shots, there's another road. So, the slide before, that was in that upper section because we haven't even excavated down to that. And then, there's another church layer, and then there's a whole other bituminous profile. So, decades and decades ago, we're 7 or 8 feet now and discover another road. Next slide, please. So you can see that stabilization working. It's starting to take shape now on the second lift. And now it will be you can see the wick drains extended from the lower section. And then there are drill drains also coming out. The black flaps you see are actually wick drains to alleviate pore pressure. And then the drill drains would alleviate drainage on into the profile. Next slide, please. And then the lower section, so you can see it's a much more vast excavation, a lot larger area for stabilization. And so they're doing work now to essentially tier the levels for access. And that's the first cut that's essentially been complete and working to remove that material, and then stabilization will occur soon behind us. Next slide, please. And that's taking place on that bench. So you can see them working once that cut's made to stabilize that slope. Next slide. And just like the upper, that's the lower section taking place in stages as the stabilization, the mesh, the anchors, and the shotcrete face go on, and the drains just extend and will extend throughout the profile of the wall as it continues down. Next slide, please. Another shot of the lower wall and its progression. Formwork was needed on some of those for the voided areas, and then that's essential to build out the road profile so that the necessary width is there for the travel way, plus the adjacent shoulders, plus the guardrail that will be the eventual end product for the travel lane as it goes through the repair section. Next slide, please. Just another photo of that lower. Next. Next slide, please. Any questions about either of those two projects before I move to the tornado cleanup?
When do you estimate 145 being finished?
We had it end of August as our initial road closure announcement. That could happen, but I would think 1 to 2 months is probably more realistic. Any other questions? So, tornado cleanup, just a quick update on it. It's essentially complete from the sense of first pass, stumps, C&D that was taking place today. They still plan on a final pass, but it's punch list level at this stage. So majority of all the work's complete, and that's just one shot of the debris pile. We'll take a look at some more as we go. Next slide, please. You know, along roadside, so you guys saw a lot of the devastation, I'm sure, but we estimated somewhere 20,000, north of 20,000 cubic yards of debris that was out there, not counting C&D, not counting stumps, hazardous trees, etc. So this is the top debris that came to the roadside, and what their primary focus was working from the road, clearing the debris, and then another pass for stumps, hazardous trees, etc. Next slide, please. You can just see a shot of the C&D 422, one of the highly affected areas, and it's a lot of mixed at that point. So debris and then the mixed are two separate recovery tactics there, along with the hazardous trees and stumps that we'll take a shot at. Next slide, please. That's a hazardous tree, so they pay by each, and there were quite a few of those. So you can see where our guys have gone through and identified those and marked those, and we'll take a look at how the stumps and the bed monitoring looks like too. Next slide, please. So the shot of hazardous tree example on how it pays by diameter. Stumpage pays by diameter, but it's also each. So when you look at, next slide please, when we consider the stumps, then it is by each, but the diameter also determines the pay factor for the stump. So that requires a marking, measurement, monitoring. Next slide please. Just an idea of the equipment. So these guys, it's not their first rodeo. That's the equipment they use, and that's a one loader, so that's a truck and a trailer, and they're self-loaders, so, you know, they can haul 7, 8 truckloads in one whack with that, and then they can load, and then when they come to the site, there's no dumping, they unload. So, that's county personnel and the man lift, and our monitoring process includes how full they are. So there's a known capacity of that bed, and there's a general guidance on arable widths, et cetera, for a full load or almost full load, et cetera. So each load's monitored, tallied, recorded, and that obviously it determines pay for that. Next slide, please. This is just some scale for the debris site. We'll take a look at how far it extends, but that's a 700 size deer. Those are just for reference. So the picture really don't do it justice on the height of the pile. And some of this was prior to us arriving in the state, had placed material in the same location. County Integer has been extremely generous on allowing for the placement of this, and its proximity to the center of the damage has really reduced the haul length, which will in turn save the county quite a bit of money. So please extend any thanks to that mayor if you have a chance. Next slide, please. That gives you some idea of the scale. So the pile that was circular was kind of there, and then they placed all of theirs linear. And their strategy in that, I'm certain, although I don't know exactly what, I'm sure it's for burn-in reduction, but they put everything in a line and leave a space. So you can see the finger extending and then the other two long runs. That's all from this project. Next slide. The end. So any questions about the debris project? Tornado cleanup?
So it looks really good, particularly in Pleasant View, except for 40. And do we know when the state's going to go back to picking up, or what's going to happen there?
So the best information that I have as it relates to the state's work is that they do plan to work on 79, and they do plan to work on 75. And it's my understanding they'll see where they are on expenditures at that point to see what they can in turn do on another pass. So their stance generally is one pass, or in past events has been we make one pass. And so, you know, I think with our information on bringing things to the road, that was clear to folks, and they brought things to the road, and perhaps some showed up on the state right away that was maybe unanticipated. And so I think there's still some unknowns on how that's all gonna finish. The contractor's not back up and gone. We do have some decisions to make on burning as it relates to the burn ban that exists in DeKalb County. So, well, there's some grinding options, there's some burning with air curtain options, and there's open burning. So, that's gonna take some navigation with the mayor and the contractor and the authorities for the burning permit to see how that lands. Currently, that contractor is working for the town, so, there's still some time for a final pass and some work from the state potentially.
Also, in discussions with Curtis Benson, they too will go into Henniger area and area up there. I think when they got done with 79, 75, they were gonna go into Henniger to do some work, is what he told me. And like Jonathan said, that's when they'll take a look at where they are. We may end up, I'm just where we are, we may end up having for you.
Any other questions?
93?
I received a message from Steve today that their proposal is in review. So he's passed it up for review before he can release, so it sounds like that's progressing.
Where are we on local road paving?
Local road paving, so 21 is prepared. We anticipate, we're hopeful, 3 and 303, the contractor will arrive this week for paving that. So we have, if you notice, a road closure on 21, so that's in regard to a cross drain replacement that's taking place. All the reclamation work is complete on that. The reclamation work has started on Lake Boulevard. So we have, if we are successful, weather dependent, 3 and 303 completes this week. We would be doing good for that. Then we will have 21 Lake Boulevard remaining.
I guess my last question, how's your strip paving coming along with your initial test areas, and are we ready to start making selections for that?
Yes, we'll take your selections. We have had some strip paving on 27. We feel like it was successful. There were some issues with the distributor truck after that, but that's since been repaired. So some places have been defined in that district for additional work. So last week those places were marked, and there's reclamation work required for some of that. We were able to work out of the stockpile we had from previous paving on 142, utilize that, and there was minimal work required for preparation on that place that was shot. So it's really gonna come down to folks to put toward it and be able to man that and do all this other. So we feel good about it.
I drove 27 Thursday morning after the work was done.
Yeah.
Rides a lot better than they do.
I drove it today.
They did good. A lot of those guys have never been in the truck and backed in the box for they did a good job.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Anything else?
Thank you all.
Jonathan, thanks for all the
Thank
work
you,
you
John.
guys are doing. County Attorney, anything?
I don't have anything.
Anyone else? Anything else? Okay. With that, we'll move to comments from the commission. District 3, Commissioner Buckner.
Just thankful for the work that everybody does. Kudos to everybody. It's hot, and so just be mindful as you guys are working out. Just keep them hydrated and compliment them, because we do appreciate everything that's going on. Thank you.
District 2, Commissioner Kennedy.
I just ask continued prayers for Bob Manning. He's still in a situation, he's not out of the woods, not even close, so I don't think I should say too much, because I don't want to offend the family by any way, but y'all just keep praying for him. He needs it.
District 1, Commissioner Gully.
Again, continued prayers for Mr. Manning and his family and his time of ailment, and we pray for recovery for him, and I'd like to wish everyone a happy 4th of July, and everyone stay safe, and I'd like to thank all the employees for all their hard work. Thank you.
So I'd like to second all the comments that were made. We were trying to stay in touch with Bob and track where he is, and prayers are needed, is what I would say about that. Thanks for the work that's going on across the county with all departments. I know this weekend, Flat Rock cleanup day, I think I saw pictures of folks that are out there quite early, and they were lined up to, so thanks for the work that's going on with solid waste. And I think you've been doing this now for about 4 months, and so it's making a difference across the county. Lots going on with our department, so just thanks to all our county employees. Our next meeting date is July the 8th. It will be here in this room at 5 o'clock. And so with that, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much.